Hey, just like to say I find it interesting and I appreciate it when people like yourself, you know, are honest with their opinions, political opinions. I find honesty to be a true virtue, and um, I respect your opinion in that I respect your ability to have one. Um, Honestly, I do feel like I have to say that I disagree with you. Um, you said, well, homosexual couples should deserve the right to have like equal tax credits and things like that. I agree with that premise that their relationships deserve equal recognition under the law. At least, well, maybe that's not exactly what you're trying to say. Let me try not to distort what you're saying. That they deserve all the same benefits. Their relationship deserves all the same benefits that marriages do in terms of like legal benefits or what have you. And I agree with that. One thing I do have to say is that I find it, if you're going to say that, I think you really have no legal precedent to say, well, they should be allowed to have a civil union, but not a marriage because that's already been decided. That's called separate but equal, and that's already unconstitutional. Separate but equal is inherently unequal, etc., etc. You can't. You're saying, well, this group of people deserves the right to be married or the right to get married, and this group of people doesn't. That is really arbitrary. It's arbitrary that a man and a woman, a heterosexual couple, get they deserve the right to marry, whereas a homosexual couple, they don't deserve the right to marry. And that arbitrary distinction, um, in order to split up and change the words, even if you do like try to use all of the same equal like policies regarding how the law should view the marriage, the fact that it's not called a marriage, that is the biggest thing, because you always hear people talking about the sanctity of marriage. Nobody ever talks about the sanctity of civil unions. That's important. That shows you that there's more to marriage than there's a civil union. And yet again, separate but equal is inherently unequal. And if you want to say, oh well, it's not an arbitrary distinction. Heterosexuals can procreate, so heterosexual couples deserve that right, and homosexuals don't. It's not just because they're heterosexuals; it's because they can procreate. Then I would respond to you by saying, well, the elderly heterosexual couples who are past the age of being able to bear children, or those who are like medically sterile. I'm sure that's a lot less likely. I don't know actually if it's less likely, but it would seem to me that way. Or maybe to a lesser extent, those heterosexual couples that do not want children, or things to that effect. Those are all still perfectly legal. So I mean, that just goes to show you that it has nothing to do with whether or not they can procreate. It's about what their sexual orientation is, and I feel that that's arbitrary and discrimination, and that is, um, you know, that was already decided. Brown versus Board of Education. At least that's how I look at it. Um, if you have a decent argument as to why you think that separate but equal is inherently unequal, why that doesn't apply to it, I'd be glad to hear it, because if it doesn't apply to it, I'd like to hear like the logic that you might have with that. But I mean, it seems to follow to me. Obviously, that's why I say it. So yeah, there you go.